All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome on this glorious Tuesday. We have a very exciting, much anticipated webinar today with some great guests. We're going to let everybody kind of file in here and get situated. It's just 2 o'clock now, and we have a good list of people RSVP'd. So we want to make sure we give time for people to show up. But I'm going to launch some polls really quickly. If you can answer that, it's always nice for us to know who's in the room. But also, if you go to the chat, make sure you click that you're messaging everyone and put in where you're joining us from today. It's always fun to see where everybody is joining in from. So I launched the poll, throw it in the chat. I'm joining from Brooklyn. And we got Los Angeles and Queens, Chicago, California, Ann Arbor, Brooklyn. Oh, hey, Brooklyn. Yorktown, West Palm, San Francisco, coast to coast. Where are my international people? There's always someone international. Long
Yes.
Island, not quite international, but Charleston, South Carolina, San Antonio, Texas. All right. Well, it looks like most of you are in those early stages. So first off, let me say, and a few of you expecting as well. First of all, let me say congratulations. All of you, congratulations. You made it to today. You have a little one. Your family is growing. How exciting. My cousin just had a baby last week. So I'll make sure to send him this recording because they're going to need it. But we are so excited to dive in today. I'm going to launch one more poll while we do our introductions. And this is a little bit more of how you're dealing with your sleep today. But most importantly, I want to introduce our guests. I'm the co-founder of Lalo and Michael, but I'm joined by the two co-founders of Moms on Call, an incredible resource for you guys. But Laura and Jennifer are not only the co-founders, but they're nurses, they're moms. They know everything you're going through. And hopefully our goal of today is to bring down the anxiety levels around sleep a little bit, hopefully giving you some tips you can put into practice if you're struggling. I've been there. I can tell you, I have definitely, we're still there with my toddler. I'm usually waking up with her kicking me in the back. But so let's get to it a little bit. But last few pieces of housekeeping before we get there. We do have a giveaway, as always with our webinars. Today we have a giveaway where it's over $500 in value. It's our bath time full kit, which is a bathtub and all the accessories you need around bath time. And then all of the online courses from Moms on Call, all of them. So everything you have a question about, you'll be able to go there if you are the giveaway winner. If you're not the giveaway winner, you should definitely still check them out because the resources are amazing. But hi, Laura. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, we're so excited.
All right. So we're going to talk about sleep, the glorious thing that is sleep or lack of sleep for us, but trying to get our little ones to sleep so we can be the best versions of ourselves for them. But we all know sleep is important. We've all had sleepless nights. We know how we feel the next day. But can you talk to me a little bit more about like why it's on a different level, or why it's especially important for children and babies in their infancy?
Well,
Whoever wants to go.
so many benefits. And it's so funny that you asked that, Michael, because we see so much research that applies to adults and adult behavior and adult alertness. And we don't need to be told that. We feel that every day. But the same thing applies to babies. They are growing faster in the first 2 years of life than ever before. And they ever will again. And so we want to be able to harness every bodily function that's happening hormonally and growth and development wise. And we want to maximize our child's ability to do the activities of daily living that they're just learning. So we want them to sleep well because not only does it make them eat better, it's all connected, it also helps them to regulate a lot of the hormones that are helping with their growth and development and alertness. So, there's a lot of great reasons, but I think the probably most glaring reason is because it is hard to function, especially if you have more than one. Like, I need to get good sleep. I need to be able to drive a car. I need to be able to function throughout the day. And I don't want anybody that's listening today to feel like they just dread the evening time, the nighttime. You don't know who's sleeping where. And we know that it can
Yeah.
be better. And we have helped so many families get from here to there, from kind of a chaos to a greater predictability. And I cannot tell you what we have just personally witnessed in
Yeah.
that, as it's life changing for everybody in the
Yeah.
house, not just the
Yeah.
baby.
Laura, is there anything you'd add to that? Like anything that,
Yes, of course. I would think that, yes, many of us do work, right? And so when we know the benefits for ourselves, but we can't get those benefits if we don't instill those into our kids as well. And, we often hear that term sleep training, right? Like everybody wants to ask, well, are you sleep training? Are you sleep
yeah,
training? What sleep training? And I always try to say, no, 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 wait, we don't have to train our kids to sleep. Everybody, we were all born knowing how to sleep. We don't have to teach that to our kids. However, there are things that we can do to help them be successful in developmentally appropriate ways, right? So by putting a few things in place, it's not rocket science. Putting a few things in place, we can move, like Jennifer said, from survival to something that's sustainable and lifelong. I mean, we have had, I'll never forget, Jennifer and I were at a lunch and learn for a major corporation here in Atlanta. And everybody has probably eaten there, wink, wink, right? And so, and we were doing a lunch and learn, and this mom of a 5-year-old who had never slept more than 3 hours came up to us at this event, and she was broken. And we were like,
yeah,
no, 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 it doesn't have to be that way. We can get there. And the behavioral side of non-sleep, we know how it affects us, the way it affects our kids, behavior, emotional, all of those things come to place. And we can put these really good habits in so that we can build on that foundation with confidence, knowing that our kids can sleep, which then results in us sleeping as well.
yeah, totally. I can relate to all that. And so it's what I heard you say is that so much development is happening like constantly that they're tired. They need to sleep because there's so much going on. That growth takes a lot of energy, but also kids develop best when their parents are able to parent
Oh,
best and be able to be functioning themselves. So it's like
that
kind of
again,
two prong,
Michael.
Yeah.
but it all ties.
That
Yeah.
again.
All right. Well, good thing we're recording. We'll put it out. We have it on it's on the record. It's on the record. But from the poll, we had a lot of people in the earliest days, 0 to 3 months. Sometimes it's even a little bit hard to pick up on your baby's cues or learn what they are, and every baby is different. What are some of like the classic cues of tiredness? And if there's anything that you guys have seen, maybe that's less classic, or like your baby doesn't have the classic cues. Like, what are other things to maybe look for that might signal they're tired or ready for a nap or sleep?
Well, I love that question because they do. They give us some cues that indicate that, so they can start kind of rubbing their eyes, or their eyes will get a little bit red around it. They're blinking and kind of closing those eyes. They get a little bit fussy, especially I'm talking that under 3 months, right? They get a little more fussy, and you start to kind of say, "Oh my gosh," and then they get more fussy, and so there are some cues. However, we have found that it doesn't matter which baby, there is a time frame that after they've been up, if you're talking that 0 to 3 month, there's a time frame that from the moment they get up from a nap to the time that they're ready to go down for a nap will range between an hour and an hour and a half. Closer to an hour, the younger they are, closer to an hour and a half as we get closer to that 3 month mark. So if we can start to kind of put in a routine that helps their body tell time, right, Michael and everybody, they don't know how to tell time. They can't look at the clock and say, oh, it's time to eat, or, oh, I think I would like to go take a nap now. So we want to help them be able to tell time. And the way that they tell time is by doing the same thing at the same time every day within reason, right? Life happens, and we've got older kids, and we've got pick up and drop off, and, doctor's appointments and those kind of things. But if we can kind of help with that, that helps us and helps their body get into that rhythm, so that their body begins to respond to nap time or to feed time. Their body tells us that because of the things we put in place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have two very different kids. One, my little one sleep son, who's 2 now, he just tells me he wants to go into his crib. He's like his daddy was.
Okay.
And my daughter tells me she's not tired. That's how I know she's tired. Yeah. One housekeeping thing I forgot was, if you have questions, we are going to save time for Q&A at the end. Please put at the bottom of the Zoom, there's a little chat icon with a question mark Q&A. Throw it in there. That's where we're going to be able to see all the questions. If you put it in the chat, we'll likely miss it. So we do want to get to your questions. So just a reminder, something comes up or you have a question specific to you, we're happy to try to get to it. But Jennifer, I want to ask you a little bit about safe sleep, because this is definitely an important topic, and it varies by ages. Like, can you talk about what early stage, what safe sleep really looks like early, and how it varies maybe as they grow?
Yes, we have a little video over at momsoncall.com. You guys can go and watch, where we set it up so that you can see it. And that's kind of how this all started. Like, we went into the homes of these new families at the pediatric practice where we served, and we would go in and we'd set things up. And interestingly, like, we found all kinds of things in the sleep environment. My favorite was a kid who had a little blow dryer that mom and dad had attached to the side and turned it on at night so that it would make that white noise. So sometimes I feel like, oh, there's something else that is actually really safe for your child that can serve this purpose. I'm so glad I'm here. So the safe sleep environment for desperate families, it looks exactly the same for every baby. And that is, we want a sleep environment that is so boring in there, there's nothing to do but sleep. So babies learn by association and routine, and we want them to associate crib time with sleep time. So the only thing that's in that crib is a baby. And we're not going to have a lot of light up fish tank toys or stuffed animals or loose blankets. So under 3 months of age, we have a baby who's swaddled tight, 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 and exactly right, in a way that 2 pediatric nurses would do it, so that we can maintain the integrity of the hips and get plenty of room for them to be able to breathe, but have them in a position where some of those startle reflexes are not interrupting their sleep, their long stretches of sleep. So we swaddle them. We put them in a crib environment that is absolutely safe, nothing in there except a baby. And all the stuffed animals, all the things are out, not even a mobile. Now, if you want to distract your child, a mobile's great to put over the changing table. That's where I want them distracted. But in their sleep environment, we want to be able to communicate with them that this is the place where we sleep. Now, the temperature is between 68 and 72 degrees. What they're dressed in under that swaddle between 0 to 3 months is usually just a little onesie and their diaper. And then once we get to that after 3-month stage, when we remove the swaddle, they're developmentally ready to find their own comfy spot. Then we put them in some pajamas with the little separate legs, either a zip up or a button up little pajama that has separate legs, so that they can use those legs to developmentally find their comfy spot. At that point, we want them to roll. And then it's even more important to have that crib environment very safe. The other safety issues that I'd like to mention is we'd like to have a crib mattress that is less than 5 years old. There was a fantastic study done in the Netherlands about mattress wrapping. So we like to have an anti-allergy cover over the mattress, a mattress less than 5 years old, and you can't stick more than 2 fingers in between the mattress and the slats on your crib. So that is the safest environment for kids to sleep, and they stay there typically until they're either about 2 years old. You need the crib for the next baby. And they're, kind of showing signs that they're ready to come out. And around that toddler age, We still don't do any pillows. We still don't do any stuffed animals. We're still keeping that environment boring and safe. And that's the time where we could do a little sleep sack so they don't hike that leg up over trying to
Right.
sleep, which many of them do.
And,
Yeah.
and Michael, I will say on that, as they get older and then come out of that crib, the two biggest things, and Jennifer and I are very, very big about not parenting out of fear, right? We never we parent out of truth and not fear. However, safety is one of those things that cause us a little bit of fear, right? And so when our kids are out of the crib, we want to child-proof their room, and their room becomes their crib. So we want to shut the door so that they don't have access to the house. They don't need access to running water. They don't need access to go cook us pancakes in the morning. We want to make sure that they cannot get out of their room and roam the house. And the second piece of that is never, ever, ever sleep with a door open. A door should be closed for all sleep times, especially at night when everybody in the house is asleep. No bedroom door should be left open. And that those things are super, super important to the safety of not only our little ones, but to us as a family as well.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I mean, my daughter happened to be potty trained super young. My son probably will potty train when he's 18. And my daughter had a potty right next to her bed, so door was closed, she couldn't get out, and it was and that was her safe space to be, and she felt safer. We're dealing with some later toddler issues now, but okay, so you talked a little bit about routines, and I think
sorry guys,
lost it.
Yeah, sleep and routines go hand in hand, right? And there's two different things I want to talk about regarding routines. The first is regarding like kind of nap and sleep throughout the day leading into nighttime. There's all this talk of wake windows and how it changes and naps to naps. Can you talk about like how daytime sleep and nighttime sleep like come together into one routine?
We're so excited to share this information. Laura and I are like, yes, we talk about this all day, every day when we hear all these kind of terms that go around. So
we've been doing this a long time, right? And
yes, we're so excited to share this information. So yes, as far as wake windows are concerned, what we do is we've observed the patterns and natural rhythms of children from birth all the way on to the end of the 4th year, probably more so than any other 2 women you would ever talk to in your life. We've done it in every country. We have done it nonstop all day. And we see these patterns emerging that are separate from recalculating the day every second on the basis of what you perceive as maybe this amount of time or this signal. And when we just keep them in this developmentally appropriate, natural rhythm, then when life becomes chaotic, there is something that is stable for them and that is secure for them in setting what Laura was talking about earlier, that little inner 24-hour clock that they all have. And I'm going to let Laura talk to you a little bit more about it. But yeah, there is a lot of information about this that'll be really helpful.
Well, and when we think about wake windows, because we get it, that's the term that's thrown out there now, that the wake window thing. And so if your baby wakes up at 6:30 today, you have to do math. I can't even remember my name. And yet I'm okay, wait, they're this age, so they can only be up for 65 minutes. Okay, so they woke up at 6:60, so that's 7. I gotta have them back down for sleep by 7:35. And so you throw them back down at 7:35 for a nap, and now they woke up at 8. And so now you're like, okay, well, they woke up at 8 o'clock because they only slept, and so now you got to do math again, right? And so it just causes this chaotic rhythm that never gives us that succinct daily flexibility, predictability type routine. So what we have found is, yes, there is an approximate time that our kids are awake and that they can handle, and that does get progressively longer as they get older. but it's a range. And so if we stick to kind of we call it a 15-minute grace period, and we have our routines kind of mapped out for all the ages, all the way through 4 years of age. If you give yourself your grace period, 15 minutes on either side of those times, you pretty much will hit those kind of sleepy cues and things that we talked about earlier. And having that daytime routine allows us to have that flexibility and predictability that we talked about without allowing them to take a 4-hour nap during the day, which then, of course, is going to impact those nighttime hormones. And Jennifer and I have seen this over and over and over again. When we get up in the morning, especially for kids, we want to be super intentional. So we open the blinds and sing songs and do stretches. We want to tell the brain that 12 hours from that time is when those nighttime hormones need to come into play. So when we're talking about 8 weeks and older, that's how our body knows what's coming. And sunshine, Jennifer will scream it, get sunshine, as much sunshine as we possibly can, because our bodies thrive on that sunshine, and helps with that circadian rhythm. Everybody, we've heard circadian rhythms, right? We all have this kind of circadian, that 24-hour clock. And when our kids are super young, that 0 to 3 month mark, the things that we do can help develop that, so that when it's mature, usually right around that 3 to 4 month mark, you start to see it kind of really settle in. We've put all the things in place that can help us with that.
Yeah.
So fresh air, it's so crazy, but yes, fresh air and sunshine really do help. And again, in other countries, they nap their kids outside in what they call a pram, even when it's cold and they're all bundled up. But here we have that safe sleep environment. We try and hit it about twice a day in the crib if we can. The other times maybe kind of on the run. And I know there's 100 questions about that and how that works. But like Laura was saying, when we are always doing backwards math as parents, I have to be here at this time, so then I need to get things ready. I need to make sure I have this at this time. Then 15 minutes before that, I have to have this and that. And at Moms on Call, one of the things we did 20 years ago was we mapped that out for you. We want this to be as easy as possible for you to access and implement. That's so important. And so we have the recommended daily routines, not only in the app where you can send it to all your caretakers or whoever is, helping you, and where you can also see the progression of how developmentally, and it's so crazy. And I'm just gonna tell this one last thing. But sleep does not shift. We think, oh, if I get them to sleep a little bit later, then they'll sleep longer. And that's not what we've observed. Sleep does not shift, it expands. So what we're going to do is we've mapped out the times of day, and we bring in developmentally appropriate increments that sleep time, when you go put them down for the night, actually becomes a little earlier and a little earlier. And we see the sleep expand.
That was one of the most fascinating things I've learned as a parent. In the times where we've struggled with sleep, we found, just go to bed at 6, they're going to sleep till 7. And they're just there's this sleep debt that they're climbing out of. It's not like I want them to sleep till 7. I need to put them to bed at 8 to get them
or
there.
at midnight, right? We all go out late and we're like, we kind of have this thing in our mind that, if I put them to bed at 11 o'clock at night, they're going to sleep better and sleep longer. And we have found that just is, they just get less sleep. And
and look, who doesn't want adult time?
Right. Hello. Look, in my house, the rule was by 8 o'clock, everybody had to be in bed. Even once my kids became middle schoolers, it was like, I don't care. You can go read your book, do homework, but by 8 o'clock, I'm done. I'm done. And, but you had mentioned naps, Michael, and, naps happen. We try to do those 2 naps a day. That's up until about 12 to 15 months of age. We are striving for a minimum of 2 naps a day in the crib, if at all possible. And one of the biggest things with naps is I believe that we have this misconception that we're supposed to put our kid down for a nap, and the routine says they should nap for 2 hours and we should not hear from them for 2 hours. And that's just not reality. A normal nap sleep cycle is it should take 10 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. They should sleep 30 to 45 minutes. That is normal. That's what they should do. They should wake up after 30 to 45 minutes and fuss and whine and grunt and talk and play with their hands and look around the room for 20 minutes and then doze on and off for another 30 minutes or so. But nobody tells us that. So in those early months, when they wake at 30 to 45 minutes into a nap, we assume it's because they're hungry. And so then we get them up and we feed them and they suck twice and then they pass back out. But then they, and you kind of get into that, oh my gosh, now you're in a cycle of less and less sleep. And the other, sorry,
no,
Mike.
continue, Laura. Sorry, no, continue.
And the other thing is a lot of times we get so hung up on the naps that when we have a doctor's appointment or we had to go run errands or we went to the park because our kid, the older kid went to the, then what do you do because we missed the nap? And don't panic. All our kind of general rule of thumb, and we keep things pretty simple, is if you get back home and there's more than half the nap left, attempt to put them down. If there's less than half the nap left, just hang out and pick back up with your next feed time. We're all right.
I love the chillness that you're bringing to this in so many ways. And for all those that are, I'm so happy to hear. My daughter was a 30-minute napper. It was hard. She never went down that second time. She woke up, she was done. But she slept great at night. My son can nap forever. He's just the sleeping angel. But for those that figure out that sleep, they'll go back or they'll fuss, they'll like go in and out for another 30, 45 or an hour or whatever. Once you figure that out, everybody's inevitably going to have the grandparent or some caretaker help watch them. They're going to go in at 30 minutes and you're going to be pissed. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. So you feel free to warn those people, like, you don't have to go in at 30 minutes. That's the practical parenting advice. You don't have to go in at that time. But I also think it's really interesting how you said, the patience. It's okay. You don't need to feel so uptight about the routine, the schedule, all that. I was reading about a recent study about the rise in anxiety, like prescribed anxiety in teens coming from actually like the most they see is when parents are rushing. There's like a higher level. If you've described your parent as someone who's rushing, that the levels of anxiety in those children are actually higher. And I think that a lot of times that comes from the overwhelming amount of information on the internet around how we should parent creates this anxiety that we're in a rush, we're so buttoned up, and it's okay. Intuition drives so much of parenting, but if you couple intuition with great guidance from professionals like yourselves, that's the winning combination. But this stuck in a box, that's where it can get dangerous, and that's where fear leads. Let your intuition, your gut with aid from experts. That's the winning combination, in my opinion.
Well, and we always say, Michael, look, a routine should never be so strict that you can't live. We just don't want it all over the place that nobody knows what to expect, right? A routine should, if done correctly, give you flexibility and predictability. And guess what? You can have both. You can have both of those things. And I think so often we get stuck and like you said, allowing all the information. And guys, look, there's 10,000 right ways to do this thing called parenting. There really is. Moms on Call is just one of the ways to do it. It's what we found worked in our home of 8 kids between us and life and crazy and older kids and younger kids and being on call 90 hours a week and answering hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. It's what we were able to do. But I will preference that to say, even for Jennifer and I, limit the amount of voices that you guys have chose to allow to speak into how you do this thing called parenting. Find your 2 or 3 people that you can bounce things off of, but don't listen to 900 of your closest Instagram followers. Because when we allow too much information, our confidence gets shaken. And when our confidence gets shaken, that's when we're like, oh, wait a second, how do I move forward? And I think that's just so, I tell my clients, look, if they don't have a vested interest in the outcome, they don't get a seat at your table. They don't get a seat at your table. And so kind of filtering through that really does help us to build our confidence, which then helps that foundation, right?
Yep. Totally. Okay, we're gonna move to questions from the audience because there are a bunch, and I want to try to get through as many as possible.
Love it.
I will preface this with there are a lot of questions. I hope to get through 50 to 75% of them. I apologize if we don't get to them. I do try to scan to see if there are common questions, and we can
Right.
get, combine some people. This question's from Amanda. After 3 months, how do we keep a baby cozy without a swaddle?
So what was that again? Sorry.
After the 3 month window, and I'll combine it with another question that's here. How do you keep a baby cozy without a swaddle? And adding on another question that's here from an anonymous attendee. How do you transition out of a swaddle?
Love that question. And if the temperature is 68 to 72 in the house, then just a nice footed pajama is all that you have to have when we come out of that swaddle. We want to keep them able to roll easily and learn how to do that purposefully before we put them in, say, a sleep sack. If, however, let's say you live somewhere and the temperature is dropping to on the lower side of that, 64, 62 degrees, then you can get the thicker footed pajamas, kind of those nice fleece cozy pajamas, and you can put them in that. And a onesie underneath, it'll be that extra layer until they're rolling easily, when you could throw on a sleep sack if you choose to do that. And the best way to do it is when they're about 10 to 12 weeks of age, take that swaddle away, put them in those nice footed pajamas. Make sure you have all the other things in place, right? Routine, the right high quality sound machine, their room and their crib, the safe sleep environment. Put them in, and then try and give them time and opportunity to find that comfy spot. They'll typically wake, and we try to spill the beans, and we be as honest
Yep.
we are as honest as we
As
possibly
honest as we need to be.
And that is, look, they're going to wake that first night about every 2 to 3 hours, fuss, cry for about 10 to 20 minutes, doze back off for another 2, 3, 4 hours, cry for 20, 30 minutes, sleep. They're going to have all of this ups and downs the first night. Second night's half as bad. The third night, they'll wake up singing with the birds, and we're over that transition.
And so we
Yep,
do that
awesome.
at nighttime. We need the long stretch. So we take the swaddle away, we take
But
it
at
away
night
first
first.
at nighttime, as opposed to first at nap time, so they can get used to it. They need that long stretch to be able to figure out how to find their comfy spot. So we want to be able to equip them to do the things developmentally that they need to do. We don't want to restrict them. And if you have more than one child in a house at a time,
Oh, this is great.
yeah, so
Mhm.
your 3-month-old is coming out of the swaddle, then we want to say we don't want to save the quiet one. So we're always so worried about how the toddler, might feel about what's going on at night. And we talk to that toddler the night before and we say, hey, you know what? Babies cry sometimes as they learn how to sleep. And we're going to work together as a family. If you wake up, just put your head on your pillow and go right back to sleep. So a lot of times they want to alert you. And that helps us to be able to make the very first seeds of accommodation. And first you accommodate your siblings, then you accommodate your classmates, then you accommodate the other people in your life. And these are where those things are born. So we never want to save the quiet one. What we want to do is we want to equip our household for the natural and normal things that happen. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes babies cry, and it's okay. And when the person who is bigger and stronger and keeps their life under control looks super confident about that on a regular basis, so if you believe it first and you're given 100% confident face, then they get on board. The same thing about closing the door. We say we close the door to keep you safe. It's just what we do. And we'll have kids that, go to preschool and they talk about their nighttime routine and they go, yeah, we close the door to keep me safe. And we just
Yeah.
don't understand the intense power that we have to set the perspectives and the atmosphere in our household when it is simple, repetitive, and confident. And so, another way that we want to say this for our multiple child families is it's okay. Don't save the quiet one, equip them.
Yep. Awesome. I love that. Okay. If you guys can tell, both Laura and Jennifer have amazing knowledge, but most importantly, an incredible passion for this. So what I'm going to ask them is going to be very hard because we want to try to get these questions. But let's try to keep it a rapid fire so we can get through as many questions. We'll alternate here. So this next one's for Jennifer. How do you sorry, Viviana, with the temperature being from 68 to 72, is a ceiling fan still okay? They live in Florida. It's pretty warm even with AC on the temp. Are ceiling fans okay beyond to create the environment?
Oh, my fellow Floridians, absolutely fine. We just want to make sure that there's nothing that's just like blowing directly on the, where it's not a vortex fan, just keep it on low. But mobile air in the room is fantastic. So yes, that's no problem at all. An overhead fan is great, or even a box fan that's not directed directly at the crib.
Awesome. This question's from Brittany, Laura, for you. What is too long of a daytime nap?
If we are about 15 minutes past the feed time, we do want to wake them up. So they can sleep up to about 15 minutes past your scheduled feed time. That's typically going to run about 2.5 hours max for a nap, according to how old they are.
Awesome. All right. Jennifer, for you, this question's from Jacqueline. At what age do you recommend transitioning to 2 crib naps? I guess from 3 to 2.
Going from 3 to 2 usually happens somewhere between 8 and 10 months. And then going from 2 to 1, that's a question that we get so much, usually happens somewhere between 13 to 15 months. And we take you step by step in exactly how to make those transitions. But anytime you transition a nap, if you're going from 3 to 2 or 2 to 1, the number that starts with the same letter as nap is 9. That's how many days it takes their body to adjust to that changed nap routine when we change it that way. So for about 9 days, things are going to feel kind of wonky. So stick with it. It is okay. It doesn't mean that you went too soon or they can't do it. We just want to give 9 days for the consistency of that new routine to settle in.
Awesome. Next one from Jacqueline, from a Jacqueline. For new parents, how do you know if they need to feed during the night sleep? My little one talks a lot and I'm confused if it's active sleep or not.
I love, love, love that question. And typically we can expect them to eat once or twice in the middle of the night up until about 8 to 10 weeks of age. Somewhere between 8 and 10 weeks of age is when we begin to get occasional no feed nights. So right up until that point, yeah, they're feeding. How do you know? Is by practicing the pause, waiting just a few minutes to make sure that they're awake and hungry. If a lot of times, again, we already established that they'll wake every 3 or 4 hours, fuss for less than 20 minutes and go back to sleep. If we go in and soothe every 5 or 10 minutes and 30 minutes have gone by and they're still pretty fussy, then they're hungry and we need to feed them, especially if they're under that 12-week mark.
Awesome. All right, we have time for about 2 or 3 more questions. Thank you guys for moving into rapid fire here so you get through more. This is an anonymous question. What is the best time to move baby into their own room?
Oh, I like babies to go in their own room ASAP. So for the first 2 weeks, they're typically in a bassinet near us because we're just getting used to the rhythm of figuring out our bodies when we're feeding, their bodies as they're learning how to feed and live in this outside world with all kinds of light and stimulation. So we do that bassinet typically for about the first 2 weeks. Then we like to move them out of the kitchen of their favorite restaurant because, you wake up about 2 o'clock and you smell some grilled onions. It's time to go. And so we just, if they have to stay in your room for some reason, we want them to be further away, but we love right around that 2-week mark to move them into their own space that is safe, that is in a crib, that has the white noise on, that's 68 to 72 degrees, and that at night is absolutely pitch black, just like the womb. And we kind of recreate that environment for them. That's very soothing and keeps them from, when they're in those twilight sleep stages that Laura talked about, it keeps them from smelling the kitchen of their favorite restaurant and coming to full alertness.
Awesome. All right. We are going to wrap it up with this question, which came up a few times. So it probably 3 or 5 or so people had similar question. But around, in this, I guess, in newborns, contact napping, people that have their baby does really well contact napping, but is having a hard time transitioning, or how to make that transition, how to rip off the Band-Aid or the baby to go, nap independently.
Well, it's all about habits, right? And we love contact naps. Absolutely. And contact nap here and there is perfectly but fine. Laying down that foundation as soon as possible, and it's never, ever, ever too late, of focusing on at least 2 naps a day where we're purposefully going to the room, doing a pre-nap routine, making sure that sleep environment is going to be helpful. So under 3 months swaddled correctly, using a sound machine, hitting a consistent time of going down, because that's going to help their body know what to expect when. So all of those things are going to come into play. Then a contact nap in the late evening or once or twice a day is perfectly fine. And that's not going to hinder the nap part of trying to figure out how to get themselves to sleep and get down.
As long as you are alert and awake.
And you have to be awake.
Awesome. All right. This was, I'm sure, extremely insightful for everybody on the call, especially those. There's so many of them. I know I learned, but I'll be emailing you guys on the side.
Yeah.
But
anytime.
For those that want to get more of this, like more of your guys' passion and knowledge, wisdom, where can they go? What should they do?
So momsoncall.com has everything that you can possibly have. Of course, Instagram, you can follow us, and we have online courses. We have consultants, Jennifer and I, plus a team of 10 across the country, that you can do a 30-minute phone call where we can answer your questions just like we did today, or a week of email support, or a virtual consult where we really get down to kind of that nitty gritty and lay out that personal plan for you and then walk it out. What I love most is with my clients every morning, I say, hey, send me a summary of the day and night before, and they'll send me that summary and I can make tweaks and adjustments in real time. So you can get all that information at momsoncall.com. And of course, we have our app that Jennifer mentioned earlier as well.
And I think too, Michael, toddlers are my specialty. So absolutely reach out, and we can keep you from getting kicked into riblets any more than you want to in the middle of the night. But we do want to leave. It's really important for Laura and I to leave with 2 concepts that we really want you to take home with you. And number 1, it's important for us, for the parents, to do the parenting. And in this age, we've talked about it, how important it is to listen to your own intuition. But there is no one in this world that knows exactly how your baby smells when they come out of the bath, or how wide their smile is. That is you, and you are fully equipped to be able to do this with or without the internet. And number 2, your kids are strong, adaptable, and resilient, and so are you. At the beginning of our time together, we talked about all these reasons and hormones and advantages, but our kids are so absolutely designed to be able to manage the ins and outs of our life. And if what they have is you, that's going to be enough. We know you're exhausted. We can fix how much you enjoy this daily, how well rested you are. But we want you to know that you are strong, adaptable, and resilient as well. And you are not going to ruin them, sleep or no sleep.
I love that. And if your love language is words of affirmation, there was your daily dose of love. Because you got this. That is the ultimate message.
I do.
But I do want a couple quick things to close it off. First of all, thank you so much, both of you. This was amazing. Our giveaway winner, if you can just raise your hand using the little raise hand button when I say your name, so we know you're here, Ariana on our team will be in touch. And the winner is Kara Jones. If you could just hit that raise hand button down at the bottom. If you're not here, then we will move to a backup. I haven't seen a hand yet, so hopefully she's here. Oh, there she is. Just took a minute. So Kara, Ariane will be in touch with you. And speaking of routines, these things are really about bringing the best information possible to you guys and helping you do the best job of parenting you can. But we actually launched a new product today. Speaking of routines, our new ribbed bath towels and wash mitts and wash came out today, and they're really beautiful, amazing colors. So I highly recommend them. I wish that it was the quality of bath towel that I use for myself. They're so soft. and So Plush. So definitely check them out. And we have so many new products launching over the next few weeks and couple months. And today, I believe our Labor Day sale is live on our website. So definitely check it out. Some great savings that can be had site-wide. We do have a recording here. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. We'll also be posting some recaps on our blog and Instagram and all that stuff. And as always, check out momsoncall.com and their app and their website. So much great information. Thank you all for spending a bit of your Tuesday with Laura, Jennifer, and me. And have a great rest of your day and sweet dreams.